I didn't grow up in Florida. I grew up in a small town outside of Philadelphia called Montgomeryville, Pennsylvania. And when I was 17, I left that small town to go to college at UConn, University of Connecticut, and to study puppetry. This was always the plan. My parents said, you go to school, you graduate from high school, and you go to college. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to college. So I grew up with an undiagnosed learning disability. And so from about kindergarten through middle school, I was struggling. I always felt like I was failing. And in elementary school, they teach you what home is. They have you draw a little picture of a house, your family's inside of it. But what I discovered as I got a little bit older was that home was that feeling inside of yourself where you feel accepted, where you accept yourself, where you understand where your talents lie, and you're comfortable. So when I was in junior high school, I found puppetry. And it opened up a whole world for me. It created that confidence in me. It was something that I was good at. It was something that I could do. And a miracle kind of occurred because I found the puppetry community and I found what people describe as their tribe. People brought me in. I had senior citizens saying, come into my basement and help me build puppets. And I had all sorts of people inviting me to their houses, and all of my friends suddenly were my parents' age, right? And I joined the local puppet guild. I did everything I could with puppetry. But what I also did with puppetry was I discovered how to learn. So I would create little shows to teach myself about different topics that would happen. And I started to succeed. Where I had felt like a failure all the way through middle school, I started to succeed. And I felt that home inside of myself. So in my personality, I'm the kind of person who takes something and just runs with it. So I did everything puppetry I could. I built puppets. I befriended puppeteers. I went to every show. I went to festivals. And one day, I met a boy who was my age who also loved puppets. And he taught me how to perform. So again, in basements, we're sitting there, we're watching Sesame Street, we're studying it like it's, game film. And we're so excited. He becomes my very best friend and eventually my boyfriend. And this is my first boyfriend. I'm a teenager and we work at Sesame Place together and both Oscar the Grouch, and it's just wonderful. And I'm on my path. I know I have to go to college. I apply to go to UConn. And so this boy is my best friend. He is my everything, and he decides he's not going to go to college, and he's going to move to New York City instead. So here I am at UConn. It's my third day. It's the first day of classes, and I'm there with an undiagnosed learning disability. And I call my boyfriend, and I just want to tell him everything that's going on. And something is strange. So I hear something in his voice, and I realize he's dating someone else. He's moved on. And I brought it up, and he admitted it. And this was my third day at UConn and my first day of classes. And I not only had an undiagnosed learning disability, I now had a broken heart. And I also found out that I couldn't take any arts classes for the first 2 years at UConn. So I had a plan. I was sticking to the plan. This is where I'm going to go. I'm going to go to UConn. I'm going to get my degree in puppetry. I'm going to work in puppetry. I'm going to be a puppeteer. This is the way that you do it. So I stuck in and I started taking classes, and quickly I started failing again. And I started having different things happen that were kind of signs. But again, I'm a go-getter. I go straight forward. So I was like, nope, I got to go on this path. One night, I went to brush my teeth, and I was in my pajamas, walked down the hallway to brush my teeth, and I heard the door to my room close and lock, and my roommate and her boyfriend decided that they were going to spend the night in there, and I was locked out in my pajamas. So I went to the payphone, because this was 1996, and I called my now just friend, and I was desperate. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he says, move to New York with me. We should get back together. Okay. And And I had called my father previously, and my father had a really hard time with me leaving home, and every time I talked to him on the phone, he would try to convince me just to leave college and come home. So I called my father, and he's like, you should just come home. You should move back to Philadelphia. I said, I think I'm moving to New York. And he was like, okay. I was kind of on board with that. So I am like, I don't know, I should probably stay in college. And that next morning, I just went down, and there was another basement where they made all the puppets at UConn. And I met this redhead girl, and she said, here, why don't you carve a leg? And I must have looked so downtrodden and so desperate. And she's like, she just looks me in the eye and she goes, you know, this program isn't for everyone. And I was like, it's not for me. So I immediately started sending out resumes to everybody in New York and the art of puppetry. I was like, I'm moving in with my boyfriend in New York. Everything's going to be great. I now have a new path. This is going to be fine. And 2 weeks, I leave UConn. 2 weeks before I'm supposed to move in, my boyfriend calls me and says, I don't think you can move in with me. And also, I'm bisexual. And also, I want to explore that. So here I am trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I have already signed up for classes in New York City, so I leave and I go back to what was home. And I'm back in Montgomeryville, Pennsylvania, and all of my friends are at college. The place looks completely different than it had before. I don't know where I'm going or what I'm going to be doing. And I'm walking around with toilet paper on my arm because I'm crying all the time. I even went to back to my job at Sesame Place, and it was nothing. I had nothing there. All of these places that were home had disappeared. And here I was again, failing. My boyfriend and I broke up, obviously. He turned out to be full-on gay. And I had to do something. So I found an article about how they did puppetry at Disney World. And I called Disney World, and I just said, tell me who does puppets. And they put me on the phone with a gentleman who said, we're having auditions, why don't you come down? My best friend and her mom and I got in a car. We came all the way down to Disney. I got the job immediately. I moved down here, and on my third day here, I met James Donware, and we are going to be married for almost 18 years. So I finally found a home in Central Florida.